Back for another tutorial here. You can see this is where we left off last time with this account. We're going to pretty much stick to what we've been doing here and just go in and do more Tour 7. So let me jump in and do some matches quick. Gonna try to keep progressing through this tour and get close to closing it down so we can move on to bigger and better things. I am getting very close here to getting my sniper up to a 7. I need about one more time in a chest, so I'm going to try to hopefully get that taken care of before the end of this stream would be ideal. We'll have to just see. So in a situation like this, I may just, take it off this rough here. I'll never make this fairway into this headwind without going up a ball. But I shouldn't need to really be too worried about getting perfect. No matter what, it's just going to land on that rough somewhere. So as you can see, put it out on the fairway safely. Give herself a good chance. Oh, it's going to be a side wind. It's going to be a little bit tough holding out a side wind. See my opponent here using pretty decent ball here. I try to save those for tournaments. You can see my opponent using this in the tournament in the tour play. It would be ideal not to have to play them in shootout because they're going to have some good wind effect advantage here. So I am going to use pretty close to maybe 3 on the spin. I am about 1.75-ish per ring with my accuracy. I'm going to go maybe just, I got to do just maybe a little bit more of an overplay for wind effect. I'm going to go about 6 rings here. Trying to get that wind effect down, as you can see. Almost got that one to go. But we will be heading to shootout. We'll have to just do the best that we can. Tough playing guys when they're using minus 55% balls. I try to hold on to those and use those exclusively for tournament for the most part. On any account. There'd be, there's never an instance that I'd pull it out in Tour 7. The biggest ball that I would ever use in Tour 7 would be a Kingmaker. I'd have to have quite a substantial inventory to even do that. You can see we're playing against a Sniper 9. That's also something that's going to give them an advantage as well. Anything above a 7 is where you, once you have a 8, it's pretty much your end game club. Like he essentially never needs to leave this club for anything, except a couple isolated tournament shots, and that's about it. You can see there, just a little bit short. We didn't really see much of his setup, but I was assuming that that's where his mistake came in, was on his setup somewhere. What I try to do is play pretty much max. You'll see I'll be moving down to the water here. So anytime that happens, I may just need to change my alignment a little bit. My max club will be almost 4-ish rings. So that's about where I'm going to pull, so you can see. And also keep in mind that I'm pulling down to lower ground, which typically causes the ball to land short. So I'm going to try to factor that in as well. And let's see, it looks like we're going to come up a little bit short. And again, that's probably from pulling down to lower ground. You can see that it just doesn't quite land up as high, and I didn't quite get it exactly where it needed to be. However, that is good enough to pick up the win there, so we'll take it. Just keep going. Sunshine Glades hole 1. So we did have this one in a stream a couple days ago. Very challenging hole with these clubs. So here you can see I got wind in the face, which kind of changes the way that I need to play spin-wise to try to get over this bunker. And there's, you know, a very good chance that I may not be able to stop the ball. I'm going to do the best that I can to, at the very least, get it over top the bunker. So I want to try to make sure that that second bounce is not in the sand. It looks like I did pull that off perfection and was able to just stop the ball. So the more that wind gets into the face, it does kind of help slow the ball down. See what my opponent can do here. So you can see they're cranking up the backspin a little bit more. Probably going to have to go full. I can't imagine this is going to get over. I can't imagine this will land over the sand. He may be able to get around the sand, which it looks like he did with the good ball. So here we are. It's a nice little perfect ball dunk here. So there you can see that great ball just rolls in the lip. So we will be going to shoot out here. Let's see what we can draw for the hole. And this is a perfect hole for the Guardian. This is the one that I was mentioning where you don't want to play with a Sniper 7. This is one of the main, this hole is one of the main reasons. There used to be a couple more. But if they're going to have this this Koh Hong course in here, then it seems to be kind of opening up a couple more workable, manageable holes. But this is one of the main holes as to where the Guardian comes in so useful, because having that extra spin can be crucial for pulling off this shot. So you can see my opponent actually ends up going with a, needing to go with the long iron there. And sure enough, did get it to fall. If that didn't go in, it was going down the hill. So definitely got pretty lucky there with that shot, which is going to require me to also make it. So we're going to get a bit aggressive here. So I'm going to try to make sure that it kind of does roll down the hill or has the momentum to do so, because we have nothing to lose here. Typically I'll use pretty close to the max ring adjustment, Going to go just a fraction more than 2 rings here. Got our perfect ball, and let's just hope for the best. It looks like given the camera view, it looks like it didn't go in. It was very close, because when it's zoomed out like that, it basically tells you that it's probably rolling down the hill. But I needed to get aggressive, just wasn't able to get the shot to fall. And opponent, kind of got a lucky break there. It was kind of a wind set up to make it a little bit easier to pull that shot off. But again, that was going to come in just a little bit too hot and roll down the hill. As soon as you pass that hole, it runs down the cliff's edge there. So you do have to execute just perfectly. So let's see what we can do here. I'm going to back off, go back to Navigator. So I'm not going to add any power here, just going to put it out into play. And this typically gets it pretty close to a min club. If you're using a Titan ball, you'll probably want to back off on the power to topspin combination, because you'll want to make sure that you don't wind up putting yourself in between clubs. Because I'm very close to min club, but getting it down to min club can actually have its advantages. You can actually more easily hit the shot. And mistakes were made here. You can see I actually got it just too close. This is kind of what I was talking about. So it looks like we're going to have to go with a long iron into power a little bit. I'm going to try to do somewhere around the neighborhood of two backspin or so. We caught a great ball, definitely not going in. You can guarantee that. But didn't roll out anyway. Looks like 2 backspin was maybe just a little bit too much, or I needed to use just a tiny bit more power than that. So here we are, going to just tamp this in and get to the shootout here, right into the pin. Really don't need any precision here whatsoever. You could pretty much hit it off the bullseye and still make that dunk when you're in there that close. And this is another hole where the backspin can come in handy, especially with this tailwind. So this is just an instance where the Guardian is a great club to have at your disposal, as it does make this shot far easier to pull off. Now I'm thinking somewhere around 4-ish on the rings. Somewhere around here. Got our perfect ball. and should be able to get it just behind the hole somewhere. So you can see how the having the backspin there can come in handy. And guys without Sniper 8, so if I would have been playing the last guy, you know, it would have been very hard for him to do it. It's still going to be hard to get a Sniper 8 to back up enough as well. So I would imagine my opponent probably is going to come in too hot here. The only alternative is if he just perfectly hit it into that face, he could maybe stop it, but he's probably going to end up too hot because it doesn't have quite as much backspin as the Guardian does. So there you can see it just rolls through. On that tailwind situation, you know, you want to have at least 7 bars, and Sniper tops out around 6.5 bars. So we got 2 holes back to back there that you know, you really want to have Guardian for because of that backspin, or a Sniper 8. So they're kind of exact examples, you know, and there's only going to be isolated cases, you know, when you lose on those shots to, you know, that the hole-in-one that guy got was, you know, relatively lucky, as he's not going to be able to do that in all win scenarios. It's just going to be a very, very tough shot to execute. So we are going to stay with the Thor's hammer here. Going to need just a little bit of range. I'll probably put my curl on as well. Going to need to go into some power. So let's see what we can do here. So not too bad. You can see I'm putting the Titan on. Having that range in case I need it is going to come in handy. So you know, we really don't know what the second wind's going to be. So if it is in the face, we're definitely going to want to have that extra range. Opponent clips the rough there, which typically does make the hole just a tiny bit shorter when that happens. So it looks like it just is a slight wind in the face. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get this to the hole or not. May not be able to. So all I'm going to do is max this out and do the best that I can to get it up. You know, if I can, it's all about kind of where that third bounce is. You know, that's not going to roll out. It's not going to be up far enough. It really, you need to get it up to the fringe, and I just wasn't able to get enough on that. So we'll see what club my opponent has. So big dog, that'll give us some advantage in the shootout here, and you'll see that they'll, you know, with the only thing that they'll have is good range for the par 5. It's not going to be a very good club to have for the shootouts. So, you know, that's something my opponent should be thinking about. I'm actually surprised that he can even keep a 61% win percentage with a big dog. That means he definitely, you know, has some, you know, decent course knowledge to be able to get through and, you know, not shoot yourself in the foot on a lot of shootouts. It also kind of says something about the opponents as well, though, because a good opponent who brings something like a Guardian or Sniper 8 if they have it. They're just going to have that extra spin option to get a lot of shootouts close. And it's very hard to win with big dog, especially when your opponent is in there close, because it's very hard to, on a lot of shootouts, stop the ball with big dog. Not to mention the whole accuracy loss that you have. It's far less accurate club as well. So this is actually a hole where spin isn't required. So I'm going to use just a little bit of top spin, very little amount. Typically about half a bar. Thinking in terms of a ring adjustment, almost 2 rings here. Perfect ball. And that's coming in just a little bit too hot. So I shouldn't have even used that much top spin. I would have thought into the wind that would have checked up a little bit better than it did. That was not a good shot at all. So I may not be able to hold on to this win, but we'll see. You can see not a lot of accuracy on that guy's club, which does make it a little bit tough. You can see he's using backspin. I would imagine into the wind, you can't use that much backspin. It's almost like he's probably going off of my shot or something, because that's too much backspin. It'll never roll out. And another thing, he's going to need probably perfect ball with the big dog. You can really put yourself in trouble. He could put himself in the sand. Like that's how tough this club can be. So again, as I mentioned, I'm sure it's not going to roll out, and it looks like I am going to barely kind of hold on here. It was not the greatest attempt on my behalf, and it really could have cost me the hole. But I am able to just hold on there. And here on this hole, we should be able to switch back to the quarterback. Quarterback's actually typically a better driver, because having that curl capability comes in pretty useful thing. Otherwise, you can see my opponent there had to play, very aggressive towards the water, can lead to mistakes. So what I always try to do is put it out to the right and curl it back. Now, what I'm going to do with this one is, I think I can probably get away with a navigator, maybe. I'm going to have to also get just a tiny bit aggressive if I'm going to use the Thor's hammer. The only thing that I'm worried about QB-wise is, distance. I feel like my range is going to, especially with me pulling navigator, I'm just going to need to make sure that this ball gets up here a little bit farther. So you can see that I just kind of have to change the way that I'm playing, because what I'll typically do is I'll just aim out into the fairway with a quarterback. But we had so much wind in the face here, though, that I didn't want to risk it. You see the opponent here, Sniper 9. This should be a great club for this tour. You can see how much backspin he has, the 6.5 bars. And you know, especially with that accuracy, a very good club for the shootouts. And it's tough to beat these guys. So ideally, you know, I'd like to win this outright and not go to shootout, because it's hard to beat snipers. And we never know how, you know, especially if the wind gets very small and it's an easy shot. So here we are. Maybe could crank it up to almost the full backspin here. Somewhere around here. See, I'm using a little bit of a ball guide offset. And I'll go close to max on the ring adjustment. 4.5 rings. Which is probably like a mid-ish adjustment. So it looks pretty good. It was just off. So not very much. We almost got that to fall. Would have been ideal. Avoiding the shootouts can be definitely handy. As I mentioned, you know, anytime that you have to go up against, especially a Sniper 9, it's going to be tougher to do. God, I just can't with people. I don't understand why they can't just play the game. Okay, so here we get this one again. I typically use about half a bar backspin, especially on tailwind. So that's what we'll do on this one, is we'll use our backspin. But as I mentioned, you know, especially with the ball guide, makes it a lot easier for my opponents to try to get in there close. You can see that I actually used just a tiny bit of topspin on the last shot. Biggest reason that I used the topspin was because of the headwind that we had. So you'll have to, you know, you always need to just kind of, you know, tweak your spin depending on, just depending on the scenario at hand. So 6.32, we should be able to beat that rather easily. So as I mentioned, you know, I definitely use backspin. on tailwinds, but only a very little amount. And you can also see with what I'm doing with my alignment, probably somewhere in here and close to max ring adjustment, 3.5 rings. And that should definitely do it. You know, I know I'll be closer than 6.5, that's for sure. So we're at about a yard there. A much better shot than the last time that we played that one. So let's go back out here, clear this up. Houdini. Keep grinding away here. Koh Hong Hole 6, eh? This is a very tricky one. Don't always like getting this one. So let's see what we get for a wind. Opponent using like a kingmaker essentially. typically try to get away with the Titans. Save onto those balls for when you need them. I would imagine, what I suggest is, I try not to even break out Kingmakers until Tour 10. But this way, in Tour, holding on to them, you'll get, for all the Tour 10, Tour 11, Tour 12 that you could ever need, you should have the ball. And here you can see opponent actually rolls through into the rough. A little bit too much on their ring adjustment. So let's see what we can do. It's going to be a tricky, tricky hole. Not too fond of this one. So I'm going to need to land somewhere up in here. Probably pretty close to 5-ish rings or so. We just pull off the power, just for precision. We'll see if we can't, sure enough, hold on to the fairway even with that great ball. Should be up here far enough. We should be in good shape here. Opponent's going to need to lay up here. Just put it back into the fairway. Maybe try to hole out for eagle. That's what all I try to do is try to get up here towards the end of the fairway. Give yourself a short iron. Never try to freak out and do too much. End up in the rough or the bunker, because then that just kind of compounds your problem, and you could essentially get out of this. So all I'm going to do is try to land over here with some curl. Try to get it up as close as possible to the green. So if I can get this up here close enough, we'll give ourselves a pitch. And you can actually see opponent gets a straight wind here. So with that being the case, much easier to hold out. Kind of, got a lucky break. Oh, wow. So that's not the shot. So I'm not saying he's not going to make it, but when you get an easy win like that, then nothing beats just slow rolling into from the front. It's a much easier shot than doing this. And sure enough, great ball's going to end up definitely costing him. Doesn't even give it a chance. And all we'll need to do is take care of business with our down in one here. So I'm going to start to play some wind. So you can see that I just played off the edge of the cup here. Perfect ball. And right into the center of the cup. Pick up the eagle. Avoid the shootout. Oh, extra mile cards. Don't get those very often, but I didn't get my sniper cards. So we're still going to be hanging out for that. So you can see Thor, I've been using a lot of Thor 1 here. We've actually been getting some pretty brutal winds that are making it definitely a little bit tougher. This is quite the hole. This is a very challenging one. So we did get a tailwind here. Doesn't look like enough. Well, it might be, but it's going to be close. If I try going for that, it's going to be close. Oh wow, so it looks like I'm in the water because I just got my first achievement for going into the water. So not able to clear it, unfortunately. So let's see what the opponent can do. We're going to have to try to get birdie somehow and hope that the opponent doesn't hold the fairway here. Needed to get that achievement at some point. So it took me how many games? It took me 300 games to hit a ball in the water. Opponent gets a perfect ball. And if this holds into the fairway, which it looks like it's going to do, chances are I'm probably going to lose this match. But we'll see what we can do. May still try to go for pars, play for birdie. I'm going to have to change my bag up, and we'll go this way. Try to use a quasar ball. So I just tried to get just a little bit too aggressive on that first attempt, and you can see, you know, I'm putting big dog on. I'm assuming that I need to eagle, which means that I, you know, figured I'd have to hold out from the fairway there. Especially against the Sniper 9, you'll see he has plenty of top spin. He'll be able to get up, you know, by the green. There's almost no way of, it's very tough to make a mistake on this hole. If you can get that ball into the fairway, you know, especially up as long, you know, that's the hardest part about this, is just getting that drive there. And I just tried to do just a little bit too much. But all I'm going to try to do is essentially try to replicate this and try to hold it, because I'm going to need eagle here. Perfect ball. Looks like I hit the tree. So there it is. Ended up losing this match because of the tee shot. Otherwise, you know, I would have probably just took my Guardian. I almost went to the right. It was a wind that I thought, you know, I figured it probably would sneak over the water and probably roll out. But then I hit the great ball, and it really blocked it off to the left there, and it just went into the water. But I did get an achievement for that, so what do you do? So let's go ahead and see what we got. Dude, where's my ball? Out of bounds and splash down. Took me 301 games for that to happen, but sure enough, there it is. Not one of my favorites. So this is not a hole that I like to see. You can see opponent actually has this berserker ball on. So I wonder if they're actually going to, it looks like they are, So anytime that you have to go up against balls like this, definitely makes it tougher. But, you know, chances are he's not going to put it on the green anyway. But, you know, definitely makes it tougher when your opponent, you know, if they want to pull out balls like this and waste through them, you know, it does make things tougher. There you can see they're up by the green. You know, I'm just as prone to just go out here towards the right-hand side. We can put on a navigator ball and take our chances from the fairways, because I'd rather have a fairway shot than where my opponent is going to be shooting theirs from. So personal preference here. You know, keep the ball in play out of the rough. It gives you good chances to be able to you know, still hole out with, you know, all I need kind of is a perfect ball from here. And there's at least, I feel, 70% chance that I make it no matter what the wind is. Looks like I am actually going to have a crosswind a little bit, which is going to make the pitch just a little bit tougher, a little bit more annoying. But, you know, opponent pretty much, for the most part, typically has to hit perfect ball. I've seen some alignment mistakes where guys can make great ball here, or if they kind of hit on the right part of the hill, they can sometimes get great balls to go in. But for the most part, you know, you need to get your perfects from here. Looks like opponent did do that. So I would imagine it may roll in. Sure enough, there it is. So we're going to need to make ours as well. And, you know, I typically do one of two things. I'll either go for a min type shot here, or I'll go for the dunk. So I can do either. Now typically what I'd do is I'd backspin it. So we're at about 3 bars here. And I'm probably about 4 per ring here. At least a ring and a half. Perfect ball. And right into the cup. Geez, seeing this hole again? Can't get away from this sucker. So again, kind of very similar shot to what I did last time. Want to use some backspin here. Try to get maybe about here with my ball guide and wind effect that I'm trying to play. 5.8 is going to be about 3.5 rings. Perfect ball. And just off. But you can see right about a yard again. So definitely a decent shot. Whew. Playing against a Cat 3 too. So good chance that you can beat a Cat 3. You know, he couldn't see my spin, which is a good thing. Which means he's going to have to, you know, figure it out for himself. And, you know, I would imagine it looks like he's not touching the spin yet. So he's basically going to have to slam the pin if he wants to win this, because there's no way it's going to stop. And it's just something that I already know, and something that you can do, you know, learn from experience as well. You just gotta, you know, you gotta start to memorize these type things as to, you know, wind effect, stuff like that. It comes in and it's so critical. Some of the most important concepts in the game to learn. Still haven't got that sniper. I'm about to get the pin chest, so I'm going to get a 2-for-1 on this next one. I'll get, in my next win, I'll get a chest plus a pin chest. So I'm going to try to fill my home screen with chests here. So very small win, so I'm really not even going to play anything. Clip the rough over there. You can see that I did put my aim just a little bit over there. I wanted to get fairly aggressive to the left-hand side. And the hopes there was that I could, get just a little bit closer so I didn't have to, force my hand quite as much like I did last time. You could see I went about full and couldn't even get it to the hole. So I was just trying to, cut it a little bit close on that left-hand side. But you can also see that my ball bounced straight off to the left. So, that fairway is curved, and if you get too aggressive, as you could see where I did, there's kind of two ways that it bounces because, sometimes it bounces straight, which is kind of like that. But then you can see mine, which bounces left. So it looks like we got a tailwind here. It's going to be close. It looks like I'm still probably too short. I'm not going to be able to get this up here. Now, this is one of the times when I come in from this angle. It's probably one of the few times that I'm going to take off some of that right spin. I like to come out with this one with right spin, but I got to get a little bit closer to the left than what I usually do. So I don't want to, I don't want to clip that rough over there on the right. So again, it is going to come up short. So until we can get a little bit more topspin and a club advancement on my Guardian, this hole becomes pretty challenging to navigate. The drive has to be perfect for me to be able to get up there. And you can see the opponent here actually has a Sniper 8. It's very tough to play against Sniper 8s. It requires sound execution. So perfect ball, roll it in for eagle. And this is a great hole for me. Small wind though, that makes it tough. So with the small wind, opponent can kind of get by a little bit easier. I'm not really sure what route I'm going to take. There's kind of two ways to go about doing this. I can either kind of fairway hop it like this, or I can min club the guardian shot as well. So let's just see first off how close my opponent's shot is. And, you know, that kind of dictates typically maybe the way that I'll play it. So you can see their ball shooting out. It's not very close, so I'll probably just go the guardian route. But I can probably, you know, I feel comfortable enough that I can beat 7 yards with either shot. So it won't matter which way I go, whether I want to go off the front here and go with the full backspin. Just try to land right around here. So typically that's about just a little bit more than 1 ring here. Perfect ball. And there you have it, another silver. So we're full up to the max again. Let's see what we get here. Gems, machete, there's the sniper. Oh, wow, I got it exactly. Oh, look at that. Hornet 2. 2 good ones. So let's go ahead, take care of that. 62,000. Whew. But it just does give me a little bit more backspin to work with. But the extra ball guide, this is where it's going to become a very good tournament exclusive club. So when we're looking at next tournament, we're going to try to pull out Sniper 7 for the tournament. But then keep in mind that we'll still want to continue in tour until we get it to an 8. We really need that extra backspin. 4 bars isn't going to cut it. You could just see how easily I could just shoot that ball to a yard every time with that guardian because of the high backspin. With the sniper, you have to land my opponent there only has enough spin to put it on kind of right on the fringe. And if the tailwind gets up large enough, you can't stop it. You have trouble getting it, and when you land on the fairway, it's a lot more wishy-washy. Like the ball bounces sideways sometimes. It doesn't hop. You know, it's kind of like my drive off the tee in that round. How you saw that it bounced way off to the left. You know, the same type of thing happens on that fairway. You need to really commit to a spot and make sure that you hit it. And if you don't hit it just perfect, you know, you can run into a lot of trouble. Now here you can see we're going to get some more ball guide. A little bit more backspin. This is going to turn, you know, right at a 4 here. It's kind of the point that I really like it as a, you know, definitely a tour club and tournament club. So I could essentially make the switch. The only reason that I'm sticking with Thorn is for the occasional dunk. If I put Hornet on my bag, I want to make sure that I'm doing a front roll-in shot. And, you know, if we get a good tournament where we get, you know, a wedge like that, that's when I'm going to switch to the Hornet instead of the Thorn, because I'll want to be able to, you know, have that accuracy boost. You can see at 90 accuracy, we can potentially almost great ball it and, you know, get some things to fall because it has that much accuracy and you're close enough that, you know, you can get a couple things to drop. So let's just see where we're kind of falling now. We did lose 2 matches, a little bit unfortunate. One was unlucky. We lost to an ace. Unlucky for me. You know, a good break for my opponent because, you know, had the ball not hit the pin, it was probably running down the hill. So as soon as you miss the hole there, there's really no room for the ball to stop. So it rolls down the hill. My opponent rolls down the hill. It would have been an easy win. But nevertheless, it runs into the pin, and I was unable to... and then other than that, I tried to get just a little too aggressive with that water shot, and you can see it ended up costing me. Just trying to get a little bit too aggressive there. And especially going first, it only compounded my problem. Because my opponent knew all he had to do is get it out into the fairway, pick up an easy eagle, win the hole. So unfortunately, you know, a couple losses, but, you know, I had a lot of good things that I did right. I only played 1 shootout bad, and everything in there, everything else was really sound play. So, you know, hopefully you found this guide helpful. And, you know, we're gearing up for another tournament here coming up soon. Tomorrow is when the tournament starts. You can see leagues are about to end. It looks like I'm probably going to hold on to my third place chest, so I will get another chest coming in here, but it's probably something that I don't... Oh, nope, Tour 6. That's not too bad. So it can still have some things like Sniper, Guardian, and these are the type of things that I'd like to hopefully be able to win. And you can also see that I didn't get many gold chests, so that should be coming up shortly as well, because, you know, I opened a lot of silver chests and I only got 1 gold. So, you know, probably the next chest that I win is going to be a gold as well, which will end up being a Tour 6 chest in the tournament. So, you know, good luck with your guys' progress, and be on the lookout for future guides to come.